Hi, folks. This is Ruth Meed, and I am here again with the second in my episodes of Homeschooling 101. And so we're going to jump right into day two. Who am I? I'm a teacher who taught teachers for up to 27 years and worked with kids for 27 years. And I've worked with all kinds of abilities and disabilities. And so the Lord has given me a huge toolbox of ideas and ways to help. And I'm feeling burdened right now to try to put some things in people's hands to encourage them in these days of not quite sure what to do and how to homeschool my kid or what to do with my children or how to figure out my children and what to do with them. So that's what these videos are going to be, just ways for you to help your child in these days and to have some kind of a suggestive way to learn what they are like and how they learn, and then some suggested things to do each day for the next little bit to give you some kind of a schedule, some kind of a routine, some kind of a series of things that you can do to develop your relationship with your child and to be able to um, jump into doing something with them educationally that will make a difference for them and give you some things to focus on that will encourage your heart in these days of uncertainty. So, homeschooling day two from a biblical perspective. So our verse for the day, we're going to review the verses that we talked about yesterday. Fix your mind on the Word of God. I highly suggest you memorize them, and I would get your children to memorize them as well. Most of them, even your youngers, can memorize these short verses that I've picked here. 1 Thessalonians 5:24, faithful is he who calls you, who also will do it. Philippians 1:6, being confident of this very thing, that he who has begun a good work in you will be faithful to complete it in you. Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And then add this one for this week. Be steadfast, unmovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord, for as much as you know that your labor is not in vain in the Lord. 1 Corinthians 15:58. Now, let's talk about what to do. First, you're going to evaluate. How did your organization go yesterday? Did you get things kind of set up where you wanted them to be? It doesn't have to be perfect. You'll learn with time what really works for you and how things should be set up to make it the most efficient. But if you are at least making some time and some effort to get some things started, you're well on your way. Today's big task is to teach yourself and your children about this schedule that you set up and just try to run it a little bit. Again, it's not about perfection. It's about giving them some kind of predictable routine. Kids who struggle really need this even more than the average kid. You may not feel like you get a ton of academic things done even again today because you're still developing routines and getting yourself and your children used to them. But you're really doing the things that are very important. Kids who struggle with change are going to need more time than your average kid to adjust to all of these changes. If you know this ahead of time and tell yourself ahead of time that this is the way it's going to be as a mama, then you will exercise more patience with them and you won't get frustrated as quickly. Just know they need more time than you do to adjust to a change, and you already know you're having a hard time adjusting to the changes right now yourself. I cannot emphasize this enough. It's not about perfection at the start. This is about establishing some safe routines, some predictable routines in the midst of all this chaos that you and your child can work with. Depending on their age and ability level, maybe have them help you create a fun little scheduling chart that everybody can look at. Or individually, they could create their own to put up in front of a notebook or on the wall. Folks, even if you have only cardboard, you can have some fun decorating cardboard and making a schedule on it. Don't try to go out and buy some fancy paper right now. Have some fun setting up the routines. Laugh about the mistakes and just simply enjoy each other a little bit in the process of figuring out the schedule. As a matter of fact, this whole first week is going to be spent just trying to develop some level of routine in the schedule and getting to know you and your children. You could add 5 spelling words at your child's age or grade level today to the language arts reading time if you want to, that I suggested yesterday. But this is not necessary at this point. Only do this if the kids are enjoying the process so far. Refer back to my notes on readability from day one to figure out the appropriate ways and the appropriate levels of spelling for each age and grade level. For your younger kids, group them by the word families. By this, I mean have them learn to set up a set of words by their word family. For example, at, bat, cat, sat, fat, rat, or pop, top, cop, stop. For your middle schools and up, go with the Greek or Latin roots. You can do words that start with, for instance, man, manipulate, manacle, manual, manufacture, mandate, or start with the word congregate, construction, convert, contrary, conscience, etc. Have them look up the words if they can't tell you a definition and write one sentence that uses that word correctly. For your littles, don't make it a big long sentence. For your older students, expect them to put something in there that makes sense and is a decent looking sentence. Make sure you read with your children at least 15 minutes and ask them about the story that you read. If you do this after you introduce the spelling words, then they can possibly be looking for those words as they're reading if you've picked them from books that they are reading. This is true regardless of the age of your child. Reading for at least 15 minutes every day is absolutely essential to your growth and in all the academic intellectual areas. I would go into the Old Testament if you're looking for something to read and you don't have a lot of books, and read some of the fun stories that are there from people like David or Elijah or Elisha. Some of the key passages where they are found is 1 Kings 17 through 21 is all about Elijah and the different things that God allowed him to do in times of crisis and hardship. 1 Samuel 16 all the way through 2 Samuel has tons of stories about David and what David, went through when he was struggling right from the time that he was first picked to be king as a shepherd boy all the way through till the end of his life. There's lots of stories in there that are worth reading to your children and learning about how David handled things and how God worked with him through struggles and challenges. 1 Kings 19 through 2 Kings is for Elisha, is another interesting man. Or if you're working with girls, get them to read the story of Ruth or Mary in the New Testament. For math time. At the younger ages, you're simply going to get them to do some counting and putting things in groups and figuring out how much they are, and maybe even simple practicing things like simple adding or subtracting. This can be done by counting how many utensils you put on the table for supper, or if you organize a sock drawer, how many socks there are. When you're teaching adding and subtracting, you should teach them based on math families. I mentioned this yesterday. Each math family has 4 little sentences, and I did this yesterday, but I'll say it again today. So 6 plus 2 equals 8, 2 plus 6 equals 8, 8 minus 2 equals 6, 8 minus 6 equals 2. Those are your basic math sentences for the math families. If you teach them this way, it will help them to develop some algebraic thinking even at a young age. You can use anything in your house as a tool to help you teach these concepts, even your kitchen utensils if you don't have other little objects that they can move around and manipulate. Only do maybe 5 sample problems for math time. Again, you're just getting them into a routine. You're not trying to take on a huge ton of math or science or whatever. Just get them in the routine. So just do a little bit with math, figure out what they know or don't know as you're going, and don't make it stressful right now. You're just developing the routine, so you're not trying to get real complicated with teaching them anything right now. This is only day 2. So it's okay to relax and just have a little bit of fun with it. For your older kids, they just need 4 or 5 problems to practice. Again, based on the chart that I did yesterday, working with your basic skills. So for example, have them identify shapes by their angles as one question. Acute angles are less than 90 degrees. Obtuse angles are greater than 90 degrees, but less than 180. And right angles are exactly 90 degrees. Have them add or subtract a 4 or 5 digit number with decimals. Have them do one division problem that has 2 to 3 digit numbers going into some kind of a 6-digit number. Create a fraction problem that adds a fraction or a mixed number if they're used to the bigger ways that you work with fractions. Create a word problem. So an example word problem would be something like this. If this room is 10 feet long and 14 feet wide, what's the area of the room if I want to replace the carpet or tile or flooring? If you've got a ruler, I would actually get them to measure the real size of the room they're in. If they're in high school, get them to look up the prices of different types of flooring online and figure out how much each kind would cost. Just doing these 5 sample problems is a good place to start with getting them into some kind of a routine for math. This is not about spending hours on a particular subject or a struggle area. It's about just getting them used to a routine while doing some simple educational stuff that they can do that's not stressful for them or for you. And if they can't do the problem, don't stress on it. The fact that they can't do the problem is letting you know that you got to back off a little bit and make it a little bit more simple. So don't get all bent out of shape if a kid can't figure out a problem right now. You're just getting into a routine. The one thing you want to do after you've done your reading is to talk about the routine of putting things away. And then actually walking through that with them. Books go here, pencils go here, notebooks go here. This is true of any age of kid. Sometimes your teens are worse than the younger kids about following through on just the simple routines. But if you get them used to those routines of putting things away and the organizational skills, this will bleed over into other subject areas. Do that same routine for your math time. This goes here, that goes there, that goes there, and have them do it. Everything has its place. I have them do it, or do it with them if they're younger and they need to be shown where things go. And that's it for day 2. Those are the things that you can do in your 2 subject area times, and the other scheduled times you're working on just developing the routines. Enjoy your kids the rest of the day. Play some games, do some puzzles, read, take them outside, maybe do some baking. Be creative with your fun. If you've got paints or those kinds of things, and you could do a little bit with painting, or get the markers out and get them to draw something. Just have fun and be creative with your kids in this first couple of days, but still just establishing a routine as you go. And that's it for day 2. I will put this down below for you to be able to download it. If you want to download it, there'll be a link there for you to be able to download it for your reference going forward. And if you like this, if you find it of value, if you're finding these videos of value, go ahead and like, share, subscribe to my channel, click on the little notification button so you see more videos that I put up, and share it with your friends. Let other people know who are looking for something where they've just got some kind of a simple idea of how to work through these days where there's so much confusion and chaos. Just giving you a simple set of steps to try to work your way through this first week. Have a good day in the Lord, and praying that God gives you grace as you take on just one day at a time.